Welcome to Broken Entertainment. So, I was going to do a review of House of the Dragon now that the season's over. I'm probably still going to do it, but I'm going to try to break it down and focus on a couple of specific episodes that I think are key to the show and how I feel about the show. But there's a bunch of news coming out around DC right now with David Zaslav making more moves at Warner Brothers. And I think it's important that we get into that. So we're going to cover that today. And the biggest news is that Henry Cavill is back as Superman. I thought he did great in The Man of Steel. I thought he did good in everything else they had him in. And I thought it was a crime that they took him away from the role of Superman, basically because he wanted to get paid. Not an absurd amount, but he expected to be paid for an appearance that they wanted him to make, and they didn't want to pay him, so they just shut him out completely from the role. That's kind of stupid leadership that Warner Brothers had at DC for way too many years, and it's the stuff that led to, the worst version of the Justice League movie, and then the Snyder Cut coming out, and then Zack Snyder was in, and then Zack Snyder was out, and all this nonsense that's going on around DC. And one of the great things about David Zaslav coming in is that he's gotten rid of so much of that, and he's finally gotten rid of all of the top people at DC. Not DC Comics, that would be great too, but, one thing at a time, I guess. So the other thing is that he has now hired James Gunn and Peter Safran to run DC Studios, essentially. And these are kind of the media keeps comparing him to the Kevin Feige role at Marvel, where they're in charge of the overall direction and thoughts behind the DC universe. And that's an important thing to have. If you're going to have this big universe of movies, and they're supposed to all be interconnected, then you need to have somebody at the helm, right? And when it comes to James Gunn, I'm kind of mixed on him. I think he's a good director. I think he's done some good stuff. He's done DC movies. He did the second version of the Suicide Squad, which did all right. And he did, of course, Guardians of the Galaxy for Marvel. He certainly knows how to put together a superhero movie, and I think that's the important thing to have at the top. Hopefully, he also has a love of the characters. I think you need that as well. Peter Safran, I'm not going to go through this article too much. So DC Films president Walter Hamada had departed the studio, and they're going to bring in David Safran. They're going to bring in Safran, and then they didn't, and then they did because he didn't want to do it alone, which I think makes a lot of sense. He wanted a creative face. And James Gunn did Peacemaker as well. And these two have worked together before. I think that's great. Clearing out the top is great. Clearing out all these people that have made bad decision after bad decision with DC. I think that alone can't be underestimated, because how many bad decisions did we have? We had bad movies, we had okay movies, we had wild tonal shifts back and forth, stuff that just didn't really work. And now hopefully there are two people in charge that are going to piece everything together. I don't think they should overly copy the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think what they should do is do something completely their own. Because right now, there's so much Marvel stuff out there, and people are familiar with this Marvel model of movie making, and that sometimes gets butts in the seats, but a lot of times anymore it doesn't. And there's this talk of superhero fatigue. But it could be Marvel fatigue. And I think if DC goes out and it does slightly darker stuff, slightly harder stuff, and has a different, maybe more serious, less jokey tone than Marvel, they can kind of set their own path. And people might take to that as like, oh, here's something superhero, but it's different. Without going over the top into, Zack Snyder level of darkness. You don't have to have a dark Superman. You shouldn't have a dark Superman. But you could also go darker with Batman. You could have, Black Adam. Black Adam's killing people pretty obviously. In one part of the trailer, he reduces a guy to a skeleton. And he rips another guy's arm off. But having a little, being less afraid to go there with villains and to show the violence or at least a little bit for what it is, I think is a good idea. And I think that can really set the tone. Don't go, oh, we're not going to have jokes, but Marvel is a lot of jokes. It's jokes all the time. And I think not having those jokes so extensively could really set them apart. It's the little things. And having people in, the Safran company, this guy's done this stuff before. Having James Gunn, who's done this stuff before, and they're not making decisions politically like, oh, I don't like this guy. Oh, we don't like this, so we're going to change it in the middle kind of stuff. Getting rid of all that is a good idea, to put it mildly. So Gunn and Safran will work closely with Casey Bloys, Chairman and CEO of HBO and HBO Max Content, as well as Channing Dungey, Chairman of Warner Brothers Television Group, Kathleen Finch, Chairman and Chief Content Officer, U.S. Networks Group, so on and so forth. Zaslav is still looking for a new head of Warner Brothers Animation, the third feature bucket alongside Warner Brothers Pictures and DC. Yeah, they need to have an animation guy because DC animation has always been super strong, and I think lately it hasn't been. And getting back to those roots would be great, especially with a revitalized DC movie universe. And I think if I were them, I wouldn't do the Flash movie at all. Supposedly there's rumors that it's not going to happen. I don't really deal in rumors, but I think you get rid of the Flash movie and you just quietly ignore everything that happened before, but you still have the same people playing those roles, and then you just move forward. And I don't think people are going to have a problem with that, because a lot of people want to put a lot of the older stuff behind them. And, you can do movies without referencing the older material, so you're not getting rid of it for those who enjoy it, but you're also not, focusing on it. And you're not going forward with a movie headlined by Ezra Miller right now, I think is a huge mistake. I don't think they should go that route whatsoever, but we'll see what they do. Advantages to having someone like Gunn heading up DC is that people actually want to work for him. It says development insiders at the studio are excited. The prospect of gearing up writer's room under Gunn is a luring prospect for talents and scribes. That's what you want. You want to bring in people. You want to bring in new talent. You want to bring in people with good ideas, with entertaining superhero stories to tell, because they didn't really have that much either. And a lot of those same people are moving kind of away from Marvel because Disney's oppressive hand of control keeps them from getting done any of the things that they might want to do creatively. So if they think, oh, I might have the opportunity at DC, go work for James Gunn and get stuff done, in a way that I want to, and have more creative control and have more input on the creative process, I think they can really attract some talent that way. And this is all very good news. Henry Cavill coming back is an obvious thing that should have happened a long time ago. James Gunn coming in, I think that's going to be really good. When they said they were going to look for a Kevin Feige, I was like, please don't. I understand the role, what they mean, but I don't want a Kevin Feige because Marvel's got a lot of problems under him, and it's not getting any better. Especially if you watch like She-Hulk. It's just, yeah. Overall, I think things are promising at DC right now. Not in comics, in movies, and hopefully animation as well. because there's this opportunity to kind of work out their own niche in entertainment and to kind of set themselves apart from the thing that everybody's getting tired of. Not superheroes, but Marvel. Take a different approach, offer a different variety, offer a different option. And I don't care personally that much about the Black Adam movie, but it's an opportunity to bring in, first of all, some characters that people aren't necessarily familiar with, and second of all, The Rock being there, whatever you think of him as an actor, he draws people. He puts butts in seats. And, I saw the movie had an opening weekend of like $135 million. That's that kind of talent. You had Pierce Brosnan in it as well. That gets people. Henry Cavill gets people. Jason Momoa gets people in seats. Then you give them something to want to pay attention to. Give them an exciting story. And you can bring people to DC pretty quick, I think. And it sounds kind of like they're going to soft start over, which is what they should do. Do another Superman movie. Lighten the tone. Make it more like Superman. Great. Make another Batman movie. Make it edgy. Make it dark. Make it, the things that have made Batman movies successful. Right? And then bring in Hawkgirl. You've already introduced Hawkman and Black Adam. Do a Hawkman movie. Start doing these things that would have different tones to what Marvel has. And they have some real possibility here. It says, on the horizon from Safran's DC is Shazam! Fury of the Gods. And that is a movie, or a series of movies, the Shazam movies that have drawn some attention and some crowds. Blue Beetle, I think that one's going to struggle a little bit just because most people have no idea what Blue Beetle is. On the other hand, sometimes if you have people that are tired of seeing kind of the same old thing, they might go see that because, here's a character I don't know anything about. I'm going to go watch it. I mean, that's why I watched Thor, personally. The original. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. We're hearing a lot of rumors about that. Who knows what's going to happen? And then, of course, the Ezra Miller Flash movie, which I think is a mistake. Regardless, they're going to have to recast Flash. They just can't go forward with this guy. It's just not doable. So we will see where this goes. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good direction. Bringing Henry Cavill back is a good first step. Allowing The Rock to make his Black Adam movie the way he wanted to is probably a good first step. I think that movie's going to turn out to do pretty well in theaters overall. Everything I've heard, it's kind of generic, but it's just entertaining, and that's kind of what people want right now. So here are Gunn and Safran. We're honored to be the stewards of these DC characters we've loved since we were children. That right there, these DC characters we've loved since we were children, that's the key. That's what you need. You need people in. They don't all have to be like this, but you need some people in positions of power that respect these characters, that understand what draws people to these characters. Then you stop getting the Man of Steel director, and I like Man of Steel, it's fine, but you stop getting those decisions that just don't make a whole lot of sense if you're a hardcore fan of the character, or even more of a normie fan. Normies know what Superman should feel like and what Batman should feel like, and not try, if they take their time, they don't try to cram everything together all at once like they did with Batman versus Superman in the Justice League movie. That's also the key. We look forward to collaborating with the most talented writers, directors, and actors in the world, create an integrated, multi-layered universe that still allows for individual expression of the artists involved. That's how big. So remember what I said, that that Marvel kind of clamps down on the creativity of the writers and directors involved. And here's James Gunn and Safran coming out and saying, right off the top, we want to connect this all, we want to make it all coherent, but we want to support and allow for individual expression of the artists. That could really draw some talent. Our commitment to Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Harley Quinn, and the rest of the stable of DC characters is only equaled by our commitment to the wonder of human possibility these characters represent. We're excited to invigorate the theatrical experience around the world as we tell some of the biggest, most beautiful, and grandest stories ever told. We're especially enthusiastic about doing all of this with Mike, Pam, Casey, Channing, and the whole Warner Bros. Discovery team, so on and so forth. I think, these are all the right words. But as ever with entertainment and Hollywood, it's more than words. Let's see where it goes. Let's see what they do. I'm not ready to declare these guys the saviors of the DC universe until I see it. But I do think it's a step in the right direction. And I think it is a step that needs to be taken. Because either they need to fix what they have, or they need to stop making what they have for a while. Because unfortunately, even though I love the Snyder Cut, a lot of the movies that have come out from DC have not been very good and have set audiences off and put them aside and made them say, you know what, I don't want to watch any of this. So these are good statements. This is, I think, a good decision. Certainly, you need to have somebody organizing things at the top. You can't have the Disney mistake of, we don't need to plan the trilogy for Star Wars. We'll just do it as we go. And that's what DC did before. They kind of did it as they went. We want to go this way. That didn't work exactly the way we wanted. Let's change direction. Let's change direction. Hold on. Let's do it this way instead. You can't do that. You got to have people at the top, talented people at the top, that know how to make movies. You need to have those people directing, making things coherent, pushing things in a specific and clear direction. Just doing that would be a big improvement over what DC has done in the past. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Let me know if you like these hirings, if you like where DC is moving, if you think it's a positive idea or not. And if you like the video, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Ring the bell for notifications, and I will see you next time.